Hey, and welcome back to CryptoNinjas. Today, we're looking into one of the most talked about new projects in the Web3 space, Somnia Network. And of course, we're going to review what Somnia is, why it's necessary for the industry, and finally, talking about its token Somni. So stick around until the end because I will also give you my price prediction for Somni token in 2025. And before we start, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our daily crypto updates. And don't forget to use our Binance referral link in the description for 20% off of the trading fees and up to $100 in bonus when you sign up. First, what is Somnia? Somnia is the blockchain for gaming and entertainment. Yes, the blockchain, offering 1 million plus TPS and sub-second finality and sub-cent fees. They call themselves the Metaverse operating system. It's basically building the backbone for an open, interconnected metaverse where apps, games, and digital experiences can all talk to each other. The reason why we need Somnia or why it was born is because the metaverse and Web3 gaming landscape today is fragmented, with value and content spread across different chains and platforms. Somnia is an ambitious project aiming to solve this problem by creating a unified, scalable virtual society designed for millions of users. Through its high performance Layer 1 blockchain and innovative omni chain protocols, Somnia has the potential to connect and expand the metaverse, NFT, and gaming ecosystems, transferring value and creative control back to the users and the creators. I love the idea behind Somnia. However, I think one big reasons why we have very fragmented Web3 gaming landscape and games is that the games themselves, they don't want to build on another layer 1. For example, Axie Infinity, it was built on the Ethereum blockchain initially. However, once the game got big, they decided to build their own network called the Ronin sidechain. And that is why we have the Ronin gaming blockchain as of today. They want to build their own layer ones because they want to have control over their games and the activities, as well as having all of the fees generated through users' activities to their own pocket. So personally, I think Somnia is a great place for games to get started and get traction and just rely on other games. But once a game is successful enough, I think it would eventually want to spread its own wing and create its own blockchain to capture all of the value. But what makes Somni so attractive to new games? Well, it runs on its own blockchain, layer 1, called the Somnia Network, which is optimized specifically for supporting the unique demands of large-scale virtual worlds and on-chain gaming. While many existing blockchains struggle with scalability, high fees, and optimizations geared towards financial applications, Somnia takes a different approach. We're talking hundreds of transactions per second, enabling it to support extremely high volumes of in-game microtransactions and asset transfers. It also offers sub-second transaction finality. This combination of high throughput and near instant finality is critical for delivering a seamless user experience in virtual world and gaming contexts. They've also built something called the Omnichain Protocol, its core infrastructure, unleashing composability and interoperability. So think of it as a framework where developers can build immersive apps, for example, like VR, games, digital events, or social spaces. But unlike traditional platforms, everything here is interoperable and composable. So let's say you buy a skin or an avatar in a game. You could use it in another Somnia app without losing your ownership. That is the big vision here, interoperability across the metaverse. Now, what makes Somnia different from, let's say, Sandbox or Decentraland? Well, first, it's not a single world, it is an entire ecosystem of worlds connected through shared infrastructure. Second, Somnia is placing heavy emphasis on creator tools. They want artists, game developers, and brands to be able to create 3D experiences easily, monetize them, and actually own the revenue streams. Third is their own Somnia network. We all saw how limited Decentraland failed with just a few thousand users. Somnia is aiming for millions of concurrent users with smooth performance. The Somnia blockchain has many innovations that enable it to increase performance by several orders of magnitude compared to the other EVM chains. For example, they have multi-stream consensus, which is a proof of stake, partially synchronous BFT protocol, which includes two major core components: the independent data chains, which means each validator operates its own chain, or data chain, which allows for independent block production. This unique approach eliminates the need for a consensus mechanism within individual data chains, streamlining the data processing workflow. And the second core component is consensus chain, which is a separate blockchain aggregates all the heads of all data chains, employing a modified PBFT algorithm for proof of stake consensus. This structure decouples data production from the consensus process, significantly enhancing overall efficiency. Now, let's talk about Somnia's progress so far. First, they have secured an impressive $270 million in funding from a consortium of investors. That includes Improbable, M Square, and the Virtual Society Foundation, along with several prominent venture capital firms, including Miranda, SoftBank, and A16Z. But keep in mind, this funding is not a direct investment into Somnia itself, but rather an ecosystem funding. There's a difference. On top of that, Somnia recently crossed a major milestone, hitting 2 billion transactions on a Shannon blockchain testnet. This is a huge achievement, showing that their ecosystem is thriving and users are actively engaging. They've also just announced the launch of Dreamathon, an exclusive opportunity for developers to build innovative apps on Somnia. Over an 8-week period, 20 teams will compete to secure a spot among the 10 finalists, with a $200,000 grant and exposure to top investors. And of course, we cannot forget about the Somnia Gaming Week. This event has already delivered some remarkable moments. For example, Pigscape Games recorded over 2,000 players and more than 800 hours of gameplay. Play variants reached a major milestones with 15 million on-chain transactions of Shannon and about more than 2,300 unique player accounts. And then we have Go Play or Playlag attracted over 700 players to their leaderboard. This event happens every single week, so make sure to tune in, and if you're a player, why don't you participate? Additionally, Somnia is holding multiple in-person offline events across the globe. For instance, Brazil Rio 2025 and Vietnam are key locations where they just headed to. So all of this momentum, I mean insane fundraising amount, transactions, developer engagements, and community building and bonding, it shows that Somnia is not just another blockchain project, but a growing ecosystem that's here to stay. All right, now let's get into what you really want to know: the Somni token review and price prediction. First, let's talk about the Somni token. They just announced the Somni token back on August 15th, so just a few days ago, and it captures an insane amount of attention. For more details, Somni is the native utility token of the Somnia network. It's used for pretty much everything in the ecosystem, including paying for gas fee, validator staking, and utilizing the network. Eventually, the token will also be used for governance as well as they move on to become fully decentralized. And I think in the future, you can also use Somni token as a currency inside of the metaverse. For example, if you're buying an asset like skins, guns, whatever it is, or experiences, you'll likely be using Somni. Okay, so what is the price of Somni token at the TGE? Well, first, we know that the overall supply of Somni token is at 1 billion tokens. That is also the total supply. And at launch, about 5% of the total token supply will be distributed to the community in the Airdrop campaign. Besides from that, we don't really know much about how the tokenomics is designed and what exchanges might be listing Somni token. So there are two possible scenarios based on what I know so far. Scenario 1, Somni will be listed on Binance Alpha. So if Somni launches on Binance Alpha, we should be looking at an initial price of around 50 cents, giving it a $500 million in FTV. This to me is reasonable given its supply as well as the honestly dying GameFi industry. And keep in mind that the price will likely dip after launch, possibly around 35 cents or around $350 million in FTV. From there, we could see some sideways actions for a while before a potential recovery to about 70 to 80 cents in the months following the launch. Scenario 2, Somni on Binance Launch Pool. Well, if Somni launches through Binance Launch Pool, it is the bull case. The initial price could be at around $1, which is typical for highly anticipated tokens. After launch, we could see a small pump to around 1.3 or $1.4, but then likely settle down to around 80 to 90 cents and continue trading sideways. But still, we have to wait for market reactions. If Bitcoin pumps again, breaking the all-time high, we could see Somni going up as high as 1.5 to $1.8. But if not, well, sadly, scenario 1 is going to happen. It's going to drop sideways, then maybe recover a little bit, then drops again. So that's my video about Somnia. It's one of the more ambitious metaverse plays in the market right now, and unlike a lot of projects that were all hype and no delivery, this one seems to be shipping real infrastructure with new technology. If you believe in the long-term vision of the metaverse and blockchain gaming, Somnia is worth keeping an eye on. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Do you think the open metaverse is still the future, or has that cycle already passed? Let me know. And don't forget to use our Binance referral link in the description for 20% off of the trading fees and up to $100 in bonus when you sign up. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and daily out.